On May 3, 1937, the Hindenburg departed from Frankfurt, Germany, for its regular transatlantic journey to the United States. The voyage was scheduled to culminate in its arrival at the Naval Air Station Lakehurst in New Jersey. The Hindenburg, under the command of Captain Max Pruss, embarked on a routine transatlantic crossing with 36 passengers and 61 crew members on board. The journey proceeded smoothly across the Atlantic Ocean, and the airship maintained its standard, luxurious atmosphere for passengers. The voyage included planned stopovers in Recife and Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, before the final leg of the journey to the United States. These stopovers allowed for refueling and restocking of supplies. On May 6, 1937, the day of the disaster, the weather conditions at Lakehurst, New Jersey, were characterized by thunderstorms and adverse weather. However, the Hindenburg crew, experienced in navigating challenging weather, proceeded with the landing plan. The atmosphere was charged with electrical activity, and thunderstorms were in the vicinity of the landing field. The crew monitored the weather conditions closely, taking into account the challenges posed by thunderstorms, gusty winds, and lightning. Despite the challenging weather, the decision was made to continue with the landing attempt. The crew and ground personnel believed that the Hindenburg could safely navigate the adverse conditions and execute a successful landing. As the Hindenburg approached Naval Air Station Lakehurst on the evening of May 6, 1937, it descended to an altitude of about 600 feet. The crew initiated a standard landing procedure known as the flying moor, involving dropping landing lines to ground handlers. Tragically, as the Hindenburg was about 180 feet above the ground, a sudden and massive fire broke out in the tail section of the airship. Within seconds, the entire structure became engulfed in flames, and the Hindenburg rapidly descended to the ground. The fire spread rapidly, hampering any attempts to control it. The Hindenburg's tail section collapsed, and the entire airship crashed to the ground in a fiery inferno. The disaster was witnessed by onlookers, including journalists and spectators, and the event was captured on film and in photographs. Airships like the Graf Zeppelin and the R-101 were designed for long-distance travel, connecting Europe with North and South America. These airships offered a luxurious and comfortable means of transportation, attracting passengers seeking a novel and elegant way to cross the Atlantic. Advancements in materials, such as the use of duralumin and innovative structural designs, contributed to the development of larger and more stable airships. The use of helium, a non-flammable gas, as a lifting gas enhanced safety, but was limited due to its scarcity, especially in Europe. The Hindenburg was built by the Zeppelin company in Germany and completed in 1936. While the Hindenburg disaster is often associated with its crew, it's important to note that the majority of the casualties were passengers. The crew of the Hindenburg consisted of both German and American personnel. Here is a brief introduction to some key roles among the crew. Captain Max Pruss, Commander. Captain Pruss was the commanding officer of the Hindenburg. He had extensive experience as a Zeppelin captain and was responsible for the overall operation of the airship. Lieutenant Commander Albert Sampt, First Officer. As the First Officer, Sampt played a crucial role in assisting the captain in managing the airship. He was responsible for navigation and overseeing various aspects of the flight. Hugo Eckener, Consulting Engineer. Although not part of the crew on the fatal flight, Hugo Eckener was a prominent figure in the history of the Hindenburg. He was the original commander of the Graf Zeppelin and had a significant impact on the design and construction of the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg disaster on May 6, 1937, resulted in the loss of lives among both passengers and crew. The airship had a total of 97 individuals on board, including passengers and crew members. The Hindenburg had 36 passengers on board during its ill-fated journey. These passengers included individuals traveling for various purposes, including business, leisure, and journalism. The airship's crew consisted of 61 individuals, including the captain, officers, engineers, riggers, and other personnel responsible for the operation and maintenance of the airship. The disaster claimed the lives of 36 people on board, 13 passengers and 23 crew members, as well as one worker on the ground, marking one of the most infamous incidents in the history of air travel. The exact cause of the fire that led to the destruction of the Hindenburg remains a subject of historical investigation and debate. Additionally, the incident marked the end of the era of rigid airships for commercial transportation, as public confidence in their safety was severely shaken. Investigation and causes. The exact cause of the Hindenburg disaster remains uncertain, with theories ranging from sabotage to a spark igniting the highly flammable hydrogen gas. Subsequent investigations suggested that the most probable cause was a static spark ignited the leaking hydrogen, leading to the catastrophic fire. The Hindenburg disaster had a significant impact on the public perception of airships and led to a decline in their use for commercial travel. The development of non-flammable helium as a lifting gas and advancements in airplane technology further contributed to the decline of rigid airships. This disaster remains a vivid historical event, symbolizing the risks associated with early air travel technology and leading to lasting changes in the aviation industry. It was a significant event in the history of aviation and had broader implications beyond the immediate tragedy. The disaster accelerated the shift toward fixed-wing aircraft for commercial air travel. Airplanes, which were already gaining popularity, became the preferred mode of long-distance transportation due to their perceived safety and efficiency. This disaster had a profound impact on the Zeppelin company, the German manufacturer of the airship. The company faced financial difficulties and a loss of reputation, contributing to its decline in subsequent years. The extensive media coverage of the disaster, including photographs and newsreels, had a lasting impact on public perception. The dramatic images of the burning airship became iconic and influenced how people viewed air travel and technology. The concept of airships, also known as dirigibles or Zeppelins, began to take shape in the late 19th century. Pioneering work by inventors like Ferdinand von Zeppelin in Germany and Alberto Santos Dumont in France laid the groundwork for the development of rigid airships. The early 20th century saw the military potential of airships. During World War I, both the Allies and Central Powers used airships for reconnaissance, patrolling coastlines, and anti-submarine warfare. The ability to stay aloft for extended periods made airships valuable assets. After World War I, there was a shift from military to civilian applications of airships. The Treaty of Versailles restricted Germany's military use of airships, leading German companies to explore commercial possibilities. The interwar period witnessed the golden age of airships, particularly the development of large, rigid airships. Companies like the Zeppelin Company in Germany and the British Royal Airship Works in the UK produced commercial passenger airships for transatlantic travel. Design and construction of the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg had an overall length of 804 feet, 245 meters, making it one of the largest airships ever built. It featured a diameter of 135 feet, 41 meters, and a maximum diameter of 148 feet, 45 meters. The airship used hydrogen as its lifting gas, a common practice in the 1930s, despite the known flammability risks. Helium, a non-flammable alternative, was safer, but was scarce and expensive. The Hindenburg was powered by 4 Daimler-Benz DB 602 engines, each providing 1,200 horsepower. These engines were mounted externally in 4 gondolas, 2 on each side of the airship. The airship had a cruising speed of approximately 78 miles per hour, 126 kilometers per h, and a maximum speed of around 84 miles per hour, 135 kilometers per h. Its range was impressive, with the capability to cover transatlantic distances without the need for refueling. The Hindenburg could accommodate up to 72 passengers in its luxurious cabins. The interior featured a dining room, lounge, and observation windows, providing an upscale and comfortable experience for travelers. The crew complement included approximately 40 to 61 members, responsible for navigation, operation, and maintenance. The Hindenburg featured a rigid structure, meaning it had a framework made of duralumin, an aluminium alloy, to maintain its shape. This structural innovation provided stability and allowed for larger and more streamlined airships. The airship utilized the principle of buoyancy, with the lifting gas, hydrogen, providing the necessary lift to counteract the weight of the airship and its payload. The rigid structure and gas cells ensured stability during flight. The Hindenburg had traditional control surfaces, including elevators, rudders, and ailerons to manage pitch, yaw, and roll. These control surfaces allowed for maneuverability and control over the airship's orientation. The passenger cabins of the Hindenburg were designed with luxury in mind. Fine materials, comfortable furnishings, and large windows for scenic views created an atmosphere of opulence, setting a new standard for air travel comfort. The framework of the Hindenburg was constructed using duralumin, an aluminium alloy known for its strength and lightness. This material provided a sturdy yet lightweight skeleton for the airship. The gas cells, which held the lifting gas, hydrogen, were made of multiple layers of cotton fabric and were coated with a mixture of iron oxide and aluminium powder. This created a protective layer to reduce the risk of static electricity sparking a fire. The outer covering of the Hindenburg was made of cotton fabric coated with a layer of cellulose acetate butyrate. This covering was painted with a silver pigment to enhance visibility and reflect sunlight. The interiors of the Hindenburg were adorned with high-quality materials, including wood paneling, leather upholstery, and elegant fixtures. The design prioritized both aesthetics and comfort, catering to the expectations of the affluent passengers. Numerous journalists and spectators were present at Naval Air Station Lakehurst to witness the arrival of the Hindenburg on May 6, 1937. Many had gathered to capture the routine landing of the airship. As the disaster unfolded, their accounts described a sudden and shocking turn of events. Eyewitnesses reported seeing flames erupting from the tail section of the Hindenburg as it descended for landing. The scale and intensity of the fire shocked those present, and the airship became engulfed in flames within moments. Witnesses described the panic and chaos among passengers and crew members as they attempted to evacuate the burning airship. The rapid and uncontrollable spread of the fire made escape challenging, and some passengers were seen jumping from the burning wreckage. The disaster was captured on film and in photographs by several journalists, creating iconic and lasting images. The footage and images documented the speed at which the Hindenburg succumbed to the flames and crashed to the ground. Timeline of events leading to the disaster. 7 p.m. Arrival at Lakehurst. The Hindenburg arrived over Naval Air Station Lakehurst in the early evening of May 6, 1937, amidst adverse weather conditions, including thunderstorms and gusty winds. 7:09 p.m. Descent and landing attempt. The airship began its descent for landing, initiating the standard landing procedure. As the Hindenburg approached about 180 feet above the ground, a massive fire erupted in the tail section. 7:25 p.m. Rapid inferno. Within a matter of seconds, the fire engulfed the entire airship. The structure rapidly disintegrated, and the Hindenburg descended to the ground in a fiery inferno. 7:30 p.m. Impact and collapse. The burning wreckage crashed to the ground, creating a chaotic scene. The tail section collapsed, and the once majestic airship was reduced to a smoldering ruin. The ground crew and personnel at Naval Air Station Lakehurst immediately sprang into action as the disaster unfolded. They faced the immense challenge of responding to a rapidly developing and catastrophic situation. The speed and intensity of the fire posed significant challenges to firefighting efforts. The ground crew struggled to control the flames and rescue those on board. The burning wreckage created a perilous environment, hindering immediate rescue attempts. Passengers and crew members attempted to evacuate the airship amidst the chaos. Some managed to escape, while others were tragically caught in the flames. The rapid progression of the fire limited the effectiveness of traditional rescue efforts. Media coverage and public reaction. The Hindenburg disaster garnered sensational headlines in newspapers around the world. Front-page stories featured dramatic and often emotional accounts of the tragedy, accompanied by striking photographs capturing the airship engulfed in flames. Newspapers provided graphic descriptions of the disaster, emphasizing the scale and horror of the event. Eyewitness accounts, interviews with survivors, and expert opinions were included in reports to convey the impact on those who witnessed the catastrophe. The international nature of the disaster ensured extensive coverage in newspapers from various countries. Headlines conveyed shock, sorrow, and the tragic loss of life, contributing to the widespread public awareness of the Hindenburg disaster. The Hindenburg disaster unfolded during an era when radio was a primary source of news. Live radio broadcasts captured the events as they happened, with reporters providing real-time commentary. Listeners could hear the shock and urgency in the voices of the broadcasters. Newsreels, short documentary films shown in cinemas, played a crucial role in conveying the visual impact of the disaster. Filmed by both professional and amateur cameramen, the newsreel footage became iconic, immortalizing the moment the Hindenburg went up in flames. Radio broadcasts and newsreels featured impactful narration, creating a vivid and emotional account of the disaster. The visual and auditory impact of these media forms left a lasting impression on the public consciousness. The extensive media coverage of the Hindenburg disaster had a profound impact on public perception. The shocking images of the burning airship and the tragic loss of life led to a significant loss of confidence in the safety of airship travel, particularly those using hydrogen as a lifting gas. The disaster accelerated the ongoing shift from airships to fixed-wing airplanes for long-distance travel. Airplanes were seen as faster, more reliable, and, crucially, not prone to the same risks associated with flammable lifting gases. The Hindenburg disaster became a symbol of technological hubris and the unforeseen dangers of early aviation. The image of the burning airship was seared into public memory, creating an enduring association between airship travel and catastrophic risk. The Hindenburg disaster left an indelible mark on popular culture, influencing literature, film, and art. References to the tragedy often serve as cautionary tales about the unpredictable nature of technology and the potential consequences of overlooking safety. In the immediate aftermath of the Hindenburg disaster, there were significant changes in airship regulations. One notable change was the shift away from using hydrogen as a lifting gas. Governments and regulatory bodies moved to ban the use of hydrogen-filled airships for passenger transportation due to its flammability. Helium, a non-flammable lifting gas, gained prominence as the safer alternative to hydrogen. Airships filled with helium became the standard for those that continued to operate, as it eliminated the risk of catastrophic fires associated with hydrogen. The disaster prompted the aviation industry to reassess safety standards for airships and other forms of air travel. Stricter regulations were implemented, focusing on materials used in construction, fire prevention measures, and emergency procedures. The Hindenburg disaster dealt a severe blow to public confidence in airship travel. The shocking images and widespread media coverage created a lasting perception of airships as inherently risky, leading to a decline in passenger interest and trust. The decline in public confidence accelerated the shift from airships to airplanes for long-distance travel. Airplanes were perceived as faster, more efficient, and crucially less prone to the risks associated with flammable lifting gases. The disaster marked the effective end of commercial airship services for passenger transportation. While some military and non-passenger carrying airships continued to operate, the era of luxurious transatlantic airship travel came to a close. The Hindenburg disaster had a lasting impact on the trajectory of aviation. The focus shifted towards advancements in airplane technology, which became the dominant mode of long-distance travel. Airplanes offered speed, reliability, and a level of safety that airships struggled to match. The anniversary of the Hindenburg disaster is commemorated annually. Memorial events and ceremonies are held at the crash site, remembering the victims and reflecting on the historical significance of the tragedy. These commemorations often draw attention to advancements in air travel safety since that time. The disaster prompted advancements in safety measures for airships. Stricter regulations were implemented, focusing on fire prevention, construction materials, and emergency protocols. Lessons learned from the Hindenburg influenced the development of safety standards for air travel in general. The decline of commercial airship travel was a direct consequence of the Hindenburg disaster. While non-passenger carrying airships and military applications persisted, the era of luxurious transatlantic airship voyages came to an end. The disaster played a pivotal role in shaping the perception of airships as impractical for commercial passenger services. Lessons learned from the Hindenburg disaster have contributed to technological advances and innovations in aviation safety. The disaster prompted the industry to continuously improve safety protocols. leading to advancements in materials, design, and operational procedures. The Hindenburg disaster is often referenced in aviation training programs as a case study in safety. It provides valuable lessons for future generations of aviation professionals, emphasizing the importance of rigorous safety protocols and continuous improvement. Quotes on the Hindenburg disaster. Herbert Morrison's radio broadcast. "Oh, the humanity. I've lost my voice. This is the worst thing I've ever witnessed." Werner Franz, Hindenburg cabin boy. "It was a terrible, terrible thing. The people who were in the ship were burning alive." Hugo Eckener, head of Zeppelin company. "The catastrophe has caused a setback to the airship idea for passenger traffic, but I don't think it has killed the airship." Elsie Sitzman, Hindenburg survivor. "I will never forget the horror of that day. The flames, the screams, it haunts me still." Captain Max Pruss, Hindenburg commander. "It was like a nightmare. One moment everything seemed routine, and the next we were fighting to save lives." Multimedia elements, iconic photographs. Captivating images of the Hindenburg engulfed in flames, particularly the photograph by Sam Scher, have become iconic representations of the disaster. Herbert Morrison's radio broadcast. Audio recordings of Herbert Morrison's emotional radio broadcast capture the immediate shock and horror of the disaster. The newsreel footage of the disaster, both amateur and professional, provides a visual account of the tragic events as they unfolded. Various documentaries on the Hindenburg disaster include interviews with survivors, eyewitness accounts, and expert analyses, providing a comprehensive overview of the incident. Scans or reproductions of newspaper headlines from May 7, 1937, offer a glimpse into how the media reported the Hindenburg disaster. These quotes, interviews, and multimedia elements provide a multifaceted view of the Hindenburg disaster, capturing the immediate emotional impact, personal experiences of survivors, and the historical context through various forms of media. The German company responsible for the construction of the Hindenburg, Luftschiffbau Zeppelin GmbH, faced substantial challenges after the disaster. The negative publicity and decline in public trust impacted the company's ability to attract passengers for its airship services. The company had to reassess its strategies and focus on other areas of aviation. The Hindenburg disaster prompted regulatory bodies to implement stricter safety measures and regulations for airships. While this was a positive step for overall safety, it also increased operational costs for airship companies. Compliance with new safety standards required investments in technology and training,